Hello, my cookies, and welcome. Welcome to Russell Cooks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, I have something that's a little bit indulgent, lobster pasta. Now, for whatever reason in the summer, I crave lobster rolls, lobster everything. I do love this really quick, easy lobster pasta. And the best thing about it is you don't need whole lobster here. You can just get some lobster tails. They tend to be about 4 ounces. The good news is you can get away with 2 or 3. I actually ended up getting 2 whole lobsters because the lobster tails were like $12 a piece, and I could get a whole 1-pound lobster for about the same price. And I was like, I'll just do that. For this lobster pasta, you are going to need spaghetti, onion, orange, fennel, garlic, couple plum tomatoes, some clam juice, butter, salt, and last but not least, your lobster or lobster tails. I'm gonna put the lobsters in the fridge until I'm ready. They're gonna be the last thing I deal with. And last but not least, you're going to need either sherry or Pernod. I like both. For whatever reason, I can't find mine. So I have an extra dry vermouth. I think if you are up against the wall and you don't have sherry and you don't have Pernod, extra dry vermouth is fine. So now that we know what we're doing and we've gathered our ingredients, let's get started. On my stove, I have water boiling. I have a tablespoon of salt in. All right, so let's do 1 onion. You want about 1 cup chopped fine. All right, not minced, chopped fine. If it's a very large onion, might end up just being a half. So chopped fine is about 1/4 inch or a little smaller. Consistent size. Let's get my fennel. I'm gonna cut the stalks off. Now I have washed these fronds already. Discard the stalks, save the fronds. But right now we're gonna get this fennel and I'm gonna chop it just like the onion. So I'm actually gonna cut out the root here. And then I'm gonna do a similar cutting technique. And I cut the root out on this side too. Yeah, these are tiny. I'm glad I got 2 of them. Maybe I'll stop there. 1.5 if they're small, 1 if they're large or medium. All right, let's mince up these fronds. I'm just gonna dice up this tomato. We got plum tomatoes. So between a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch. Gonna add a little freshness. I'm just gonna take the rawness off, a little cook. This will help add to the cohesion of our sauce. But you can absolutely just get away with lobster tails here. You don't need whole lobster. The only reason I'm doing whole lobster was because of the price. It's a better deal. Let's do our garlic. All right, garlic. I know I'm using a mincer. My pasta water is boiling. I've got a tablespoon of salt in it. I'm gonna add my pasta. I'm gonna cook it for the length of time that is required for it to be al dente. Before I strain it, I am gonna reserve a little bit of pasta water. This says 9 minutes. My burner is not super powerful in the back, so I might just do 10. Keep it whole, of course. Don't snap it in half. Now it's time for the lobsters. I got 2 lobsters. Thank you for your sacrifice and your sustenance, lobsters. You are appreciated. All right, pull out your first lobster. This is Russell from the future. Just do tails. Don't do the whole lobster. It's more work than you want to do. Just get the tails. Even if they end up being a teeny bit more expensive, you're saving yourself the labor. It's fine. Sometimes take the easy road. Take it. All right, back to the present. Now it's time to get the meat out. If you have kitchen shears, it makes it really easy. But of course, I can't find my kitchen shears now. So we're gonna do it with a knife. Save these shells. We're gonna make a quick little lobster stock out of them. The best way to do this is kitchen shears here. And you're gonna take it, crack it along the back here. Save the shells. Get the meat out, save the shells. Let me stir this pasta. I don't think it's done. All right, I'll check it again in 3 minutes. I'm gonna put the shells, the used shells in this pot because we're gonna make a quick little lobster stock. Look at all these tools that I'm having to use. We'll drain the pasta. Perfect, al dente. Make sure you save a little bit of your pasta water here. Got some starches in it, and we might need it later. We might not need it, but we might need it later. All right, I'm gonna drain this off, put the pasta back in the pot. Set this aside. finish up these lobsters. Using a spoon to scrape the meat off of the shell. Okay if a little bit stays on. All right, first things first. We got our shells. Guess what? This bottle of clam juice is gonna go in with the shells here. And I'm gonna pour about 2 ounces of pasta water in here. I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna cook it until the shells are bright red. All right, now it's time. I'm gonna add about 8 tablespoons of butter because I like it super buttery. And this is the basis for our sauce. Just gonna melt this over medium heat. Meanwhile, I am going to cut up this lobster a little bit. I don't want these giant chunks. All right, I smell it starting to brown. I don't want it to brown. Heat's too high. Now that it's pretty much melted, I'm gonna add my onion and fennel. Add a ½ teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna cook it around, stir it. You want it 5 to 7 minutes. You kind of want it softened. Medium-low heat. While we're waiting for that to cook, I'm just gonna do about a ½ teaspoon of orange zest in with my garlic here. Cut this in half, and I'm going to use anywhere between a 1/4 cup and a 1/3 cup of orange juice. Our onions and fennel are softened. They're fragrant. It's time to add the tomatoes here, and then the garlic and ½ teaspoon orange zest. You stir that around. You just want to cook it. You want these tomatoes to start to soften, start to break down, but not completely break down. So again, I'm on about medium heat, and I want to cook it for 30 to 60 seconds. Remember, the tomatoes are going to keep cooking because we got some other stuff to add. I'm going to start with about a 1/4 cup of my dry vermouth. You know what? Scratch that. Use a 1/3 cup. Don't use a 1/4 cup. Use a 1/3 cup. Now you're going to want to cook until it's pretty much evaporated. That's going to take anywhere between 2 to 4 minutes. Those tomatoes will continue to soften, but we're not going to burn the garlic that we threw in at the same time. All right, my lobster stock is almost done here. My lobster is nice and bright and red. Taking it off the heat, I'm just gonna let it sit. It's gonna fortify the dish with lobster flavor so we don't lose it. Seems pretty dry to me. I hear that it's dry. I'm gonna add my hot lobster broth here through a strainer, all of it. Bring this up to a simmer. All right, so we brought it up to a simmer. I'm gonna take it off the heat. I'm gonna stir in my lobster meat. I'm just gonna stir it around and try and gently cook it through. If you need to turn the heat back on to make sure that your lobster is completely cooked through, you can. I don't think you will need to. You can see how it's cooking right now. I want it nice and tender. We're gonna add this to the pasta. And at the same time, we're gonna add a little bit of orange juice. Look at this, I don't think it fits. Add a little bit of orange juice here, a few tablespoons. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of butter here. We're just gonna toss this around. The lobster and pasta are not super cohesive yet. Just keep stirring. Everything should be nice and hot. It's time to plate this up. Look at this. The sauce is getting soaked up by the spaghetti. Fantastic. All right, it's time for the prawns. I got some delicately cooked lobster here. I got some spaghetti. I got some orange zest. Let's just dig in. The lobster is perfectly cooked. Incredibly tender. Melts in your mouth. With the amount of butter I put in this dish, I thought it was gonna be heavier. It's light, it's bright. A little bit of that garlic goes really well with that tomato, and then you get the orange, that fennel flavor, that anise comes through, and then you get the lobster. You get those levels of lobster too. That's why we made that quick lobster stock. Quick? It's quick if you use lobster tails. You might have gone a little heavy-handed on the orange zest, so you might want to scale it back to maybe a 1/4 teaspoon. But overall, aside from breaking down lobster, 9 out of 10. I would have liked a little bit more lobster, I think. Depends on how much you want to break the bank. You know, if you want to get 4, 5, 6 lobster tails, get 4, 5, 6 lobster tails. This obviously serves 4 people, so if you want 1 lobster tail per person, that takes 4. Thanks everyone for tuning in. That was lobster spaghetti with fennel and tomatoes. If you like what you saw, don't forget to check me out on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and most importantly, YouTube. The best way to support this channel is just subscribe to me on YouTube. It's absolutely free. if you like any of the stuff I use, I have some affiliate links down below. I do get a little cut if you purchase anything going through that link, but it's only stuff I enjoy and stuff I use or like. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.